One Heat Minute Productions presents Guide for the Film Fanatic, the podcast where we invite a guest to pick one movie from Danny Perry's seminal 1986 film reference book and talk to us about that movie. I'm your host, Jason Bailey, and across the mic and across the country from me is my co-host.
Oh, am I muted? Have I done this before? Michael Hall.
Our guests today are the authors of the new book, Family Movie Night Menus, Recipes and Films for Unforgettable Times Together. He is one of the world's most recognized film critics and historians, and the author of many books.
Oh my goodness. You got a landfill there.
This is one instance where it is advantageous to be a YouTube viewer as opposed to a listener, but I figured it would be easier to just use visual aids than to read out the titles of 20-some movies. She is his daughter and an industry vet herself. Together they host...
Where he goes.
She goes where he goes.
Yeah.
And together they host the weekly interview podcast, Maltin on Movies, which has run since 2016. Please welcome the great Leonard Maltin and the great Jessie Maltin. Hello, Maltins.
Hello there. How are you, Jason? Hi, Mike.
Hello.
I'm great.
To see and be with you.
Thank you so much. It's so good to have you back on. I know you do a lot of this, but we did have you on our last podcast, A Very Good Year, and you turned us on to some wonderful 1935 movies, including Ruggles of Red Gap, which Mike still talks about. Let's start with this wonderful new book, which I have to tell you, this is a genre book combination that I've never heard of before. The film criticism / cookbook. So first of all, for those who haven't read it yet, tell us about the format of the book and also how you guys arrived at it.
Well, Jessie should really answer this because she is the auteur of this book in many ways. We did this. It's a total collaboration between us. Some people might think that I wrote the film reviews and she did the recipes. Not true.
Right.
We worked together on every facet of this book, except I had nothing to do with the food. That's far kind of cop out there. except maybe suggesting.
No, you had ideas for some of them, though. You had ideas.
I had ideas,
for
yes,
sure.
but I can't realize those ideas in a form, in an edible form.
We're going to be at the LA Times Festival of Books, and they're having us do a demo, a cooking demo.
Oh,
and
boy.
We had a call with them yesterday, and my dad told them he can pour Kellogg's cereal into a bowl.
Yep.
That is where he can help us. Though I will tell you, we made Mickey Mouse waffles in our house every weekend, my dad and I. That was a standard. So the thing about working with my dad, which is something I've done my entire life, I joke that we are the little Maltin empire. My mom is the boss, and we will all tell you that, and so will she. My mom is the boss. My dad is the talent. And I am usually the carer for the talent.
Sure.
I go with my dad everywhere. Yeah, I'm his handler. I go with him everywhere. I do everything with him. And then some years ago, because I'd never wanted to be on screen, any of that. I like my role sitting right behind.
Sure.
But his co-host for the podcast originally was an amazing guy named Baron Vaughn, and he got too busy working, and I was nearby.
He got paying work.
Exactly. And I say this because as you're asking about the book, we ended up doing this podcast together and have for years now. And through that, we've done a lot more live recordings together on stages, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I edit my dad's writing, and again, we've just always worked together. So TCM came to us with this idea. They've done some other things, like with Eddie Muller, they did a cocktail.
It's a great book.
Noir film, stuff like that. So they came to us with this, and they didn't have an exact idea of what they wanted, but they had a sense. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of talked to us about it, and we went back and forth for a year trying to figure out what exactly they wanted and what would work. And because asking us for movies we like is not hard.
Sure.
Asking us to fill up a list of movies we like, not a difficult thing.
Not at all.
But, you know, they initially wanted older films, then they wanted some newer films. We went back and forth and finally settled here.
So we did a little of everything. in
Yeah.
terms of the films. They range from Charlie Chaplin to Harry Potter. So that's a pretty broad
Right.
swath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to say we're wide swath cutters. It is,
There you go.
It is our specialty.
Yeah.
But yeah, the coolest part, honestly, was my dad rewatched. Obviously, with 25 movies in the book, there are some that I know backwards, forwards, didn't need to rewatch for this purpose. Others I did, which is also really fun to
Sure.
revisit something. I watched National Velvet and said to my dad, "This movie's so good." Like, like this was really funny. There's so much
Yeah.
to it. And then my parents were rewatching stuff like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, The Addams Family, which I can recite.
Sure.
And going back and falling in love with those again.
Right.
So it was just a blast, honestly. And my parents
Yeah.
would watch a movie almost every night as we were working through it. And then we'd sit at dinner time and discuss. And so it feels now that it exists, it's kind of strange to think this thing that we have talked about and, as I say, sat at our dinner table discussing, it's real.
Yeah.
You can hold it in your hands.
Yes,
Actual
and
book.
I am current.
Yeah.
And the way that it's laid out, which is really clever, is you have the like you said 25 movies where there's an essay about the
Yep.
movie that runs a few pages. You got beautiful illustrations and so forth, and then
My
after
dad
each
picked,
essay.
I should say, my dad picked every one of those pictures.
Oh wow!
He
Okay,
picked every single photo that you see for
nice
the films.
choices, sir.
Thank
I
you.
took the pictures of some of the food, and then others are images that they had. But my
Right.
dad picked every single still you see.
Yeah, and so then after each essay and its illustration, then you have a complimentary recipe for something that you guys recommend preparing to enjoy with or after or in tandem with
Yep.
the movie. And there are some really inspired pairings in here. That was what really jumped out at me was, there's some, like Willy Wonka, which I just held up. Like, okay, that's a very food heavy movie.
Yeah.
You get these splendiferously indulgent cupcakes, and that makes sense. But some of these are not things that would have come to me, but totally make sense. Pairing E.T. with a chocolate peanut butter cake, or excuse me, pie.
It's a pie, yeah.
Because of the Reese's Pieces in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
That's great. That's a wonderful combination. So I guess I'm curious about sort of how you arrived at these combinations.
Well,
were they things you'd done before? Did you sort of have to try different things? Were there failures?
Some films lent themselves
Sure.
more easily than others.
Sure.
In The Kid, our earliest film is a great silent comedy, The Kid, by and with Charlie Chaplin.
Right.
And introducing young Jackie Coogan, who's just the most adorable child actor
Absolutely.
you could ever hope to find. And little Jackie, while his father, his adoptive father, is sleeping in their garret.
Yeah.
You like that word?
It's a
Okay.
polite way to put it. Yeah.
Yes. And is making his dad hotcakes on a hot plate. So Coogan cakes seemed like the obvious way to go there. On the other hand, at first, and I'll say only at first, I couldn't think of an idea for The Sound of Music.
Sure.
And I called my friend Stephen Smith, who did all the Blu-ray extras for the anniversary edition of Sound of Music.
Oh, nice.
He said, "Leonard, schnitzel with noodles."
There you go.
Credit where credit is due.
That's
Absolutely.
because the problem is once you're sitting there, then your brain starts to fry.
Oh, absolutely.
Pun intended, as you're like, what am I going to make?
Right.
You came up with the fish and chips for Captain January.
Very good.
But yeah, it was funny to sort of just sit and try to think of all the stuff. I called it Cheery Oh No's for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and it's like a Rice Krispie treat but done with Cheerios.
Nice.
My favorite part of that was taking the picture. I bought these tiny little figures and I stuck them all through it. Very proud of myself. I did black pasta for Addams Family.
Nice.
Carrot cake, cupcakes for National Velvet, stuff like that. So it just, honestly, it was just stuff that made us laugh.
Yeah.
We thought it was funny, then we went with
Yep.
it. And to me, the goal is that I don't want this to be hard for you.
Sure.
Some of the stews, if you're making jambalaya for Sounder or you're making a stew for Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, some of them are harder. But the point is not that. It's the
Right.
idea is just to do it together. I keep saying to people, obviously, one of the one of the things that is such a huge part of our lives is watching movies together.
Right.
That has been my entire life.
Right.
And I'm generally up to a point, I was watching them with my parents.
Right.
Always.
Always.
And my parents' friends. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friends. And so when you get into that habit, it's such a lovely thing to discuss what you're watching and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
And so, the idea is that you make something, whether it turns out well or it burns or whatever happens, it's the idea that you're going to have a movie night. You can be with your friends or your family, whoever. And my big thing at the moment, obviously, is put your phone away and just sit there.
Yeah.
And, you guys have kids too, and I've got a 4-year-old that we're trying to slowly but surely indoctrinate.
Of course.
Some people ask, is it a boy or a girl? People go to my dad and they go, what are you showing her? Like aggressively.
Sure.
Leonard, have you introduced her to this yet?
We demand to know.
Like, damn, they're rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, so say it's the idea of sit down, watch something,
Right.
enjoy
And if all else
talk
fails,
about it.
If all else fails, there's always cornflakes.
Exactly.
It's true.
Well, one of the things that I like so much about the book, which you touched on, is how much emphasis it places on family. My dad wasn't Leonard Maltin, but he was a movie lover. And I think it's something that really does begin in the home and that is passed down from generation to generation.
Absolutely.
Sure.
When you guys are doing events, even before this book or as you've been promoting the book, do people come up to you and share their family movie rituals with you, tell you about their own movie nights, that sort of thing?
Yeah. When we moved here to California, my wife and I, many, many years ago, a friend said, he didn't say, he showed us a bowl of popcorn dotted with peanut M&Ms. Oh, man. So good. It's that sweet and salty combination.
Sure.
That's no anecdote. That's all I got.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, obviously, because people have grown up with my dad, a lot of people have grown up with my dad. Mm-hmm. When they see me, the first thing they want to do is talk about that.
Right.
That, one of my friends always said that she grew up in Canada, and she said when she saw my dad, it meant it was bedtime. Because E.T. came on at 8:00 at night, and so she knew she was allowed to watch my dad for about a half an hour, and then she had to go to bed. I can't count the number of people who grew up watching the Star Wars VHS and come up. We can usually guess based on age and general appearance what someone's going to say.
Sure.
They may say Star Wars. I used to have to fast forward through your dad to watch Star Wars. That was a big one. And then I have friends who are movie nerds who go, I never fast forwarded. I watched every one.
We used to
then
live.
there's the one that the R Gang.
Right.
Of course.
Yep. Those
Rascals,
VHS.
yes.
Yep.
One summer evening, it was still light outside. I was walking on our block in Toluca Lake, and a guy actually drove by me, hit the brakes, backed up, and then got out of the car to tell me how excited he was to meet me because of my intros and interviews with George Lucas on the Star Wars cassettes.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was just wild. Well, it turns out they sold 25 million of those cassettes.
Well.
25 million.
All right. Well, what film did you guys select to discuss with us today?
One of our favorite movies, Ace in the Hole.
Quiet, everybody! Listen to me!
Quiet, everybody!
It's the champion, Kirk Douglas.
What a great way to start any trailer.
Yeah.
Quiet! Listen!
So this was fairly close to the champion and thus worth piggybacking off of, Leonard?
Oh, yes.
Got it.
Kirk Douglas was still fairly new at this moment, 1951.
Sure.
Well, he'd been in the movie since 1940. He'd been 5 years on screen.
Right.
And in leading roles or co-leading roles. So he was a superstar, but he was well established.
Got it. I think the earliest thing I've seen him in is Out of the Past.
Oh, well, that's a great one.
That's a good one. So here we have our typical 3-minute 1950s show you the whole plot of the movie trailer.
Jan Sterling becomes a star of the first rank.
Jan
And
Sterling.
the not so heartbroken wife of the man buried beneath the mountain.
They don't use announcers anymore for trailers.
They don't, and I miss them. I like when we play the old trailers and we get somebody who
hang
tells
on,
us
those
exactly
eyebrows.
what to feel.
Those
there
eyebrows,
you go.
guys. That's a choice.
That is.
Belt journalism, that's what it is. Not below the belt.
And this is Porter Hall as the editor, correct?
Yes, who is a favorite of Mr. Wilder's.
He was
very prominent in Double Indemnity and things like that.
Yeah, hell of an actor. I always have this weird, because there's for some strange reason there's a character in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls named Porter Hall. So whenever I see the name, I think of Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which is not something that you would typically think about in relation to Ace in the Hole. And this is an original trailer under the original title of Ace in the Hole. It was subsequently quickly re-released
Raw, biting, savage.
There you go. You'll talk about it, think about it, remember it. I like these older trailers. They were very bossy. You'll laugh, you'll cry.
You will laugh.
You will. All right. And there we have it.
Man.
Ace in the Hole, also known as... Yes, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you'd like a fun fact, Kirk Douglas and I had a bar and bat mitzvah the same year, and he wrote a book and he signed one for me.
Nice.
And so that was a pretty wild thing to share with Kirk Douglas.
It is. I would not have anticipated that about...
He had 3 bar mitzvahs in his life because he's Kirk Douglas and he does what he wants.
You sure...
I only had the one, but here we are.
He just decided to have him every once in a while. Ace in the Hole, also known as The Big Carnival, is a 1951 satirical drama co-written and directed by the great Billy Wilder. It was his follow-up to 1950's multi-Oscar winner Sunset Boulevard. Wilder took the opportunity of that triumph to exert greater control over his work, and this was his first film as a producer as well as writer-director. But it was also his first film in nearly a decade without his longtime collaborator Charles Brackett, with whom he wrote many of his earlier classics, including Nanochka, Ball of Fire, Five Grays to Cairo, and The Lost Weekend. All right, Mike, what does Danny Perry say about Ace in the Hole in Guide for the Film Fanatic?
Satirical?
Absolutely.
I did not think of this movie as satirical. That's an
absolutely.
interesting word. I'm going to spend
Media
the rest
satire.
of the show thinking about that.
Yeah.
Using that word. Yeah. Danny says, opportunistic reporter Kirk Douglas, working for tiny New Mexico paper, sees his chance to make it back to the New York big time. A man gets trapped in a mine near Albuquerque. Douglas befriends that trapped man and files exclusive stories as rescue workers try to free him. The people of America are taken by his human interest stories. Realizing that his own fame is growing, Douglas sees to it that the trapped man stays put, even though he may die. Days go by. Thousands of tourists come to the site. Even the trapped man's wife, Jan Sterling, turns a profit. Since her husband is occupied, Douglas moves in on Sterling. Cynical Billy Wilder film. Now, see, that's a word that I related with it more than satirical.
Sure.
Cynical Billy Wilder film, written with Walter Newman and Lesser Samuels, attacks the American public, which is always willing to exploit tragedy for personal gain. It also attacks the press for its tendency to milk the suffering of individuals in order to build readership. It's based on what happened to miner Floyd Collins. Many people detest this depressing picture, but it's extremely well made, brilliantly acted by Douglas, and sadly, truthful. Also with Porter Hall, Richard Benedict, Bob Arthur, and Ray Teal. Many people detest. Damn, Danny.
It was not a hit, which we will get into. But let's start. We always like to start with personal histories, especially with an older picture like this. Leonard, do you recall when you first saw this movie and how you initially sort of reacted to it, and if that opinion has altered or evolved in any way since then?
I liked it from day one, but I can't remember when and how day one occurred.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure I saw this on network television.
Okay.
At a time when there used to be, NBC used to have Saturday night at the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other networks fell in line and did the same thing. And when they started doing that in the 60s, mid to late 60s, they were only able to get films from the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get very recent releases.
Sure.
So that would have been, I think that would have been when I first laid eyes on this. Under the title Ace in the Hole. Now, Paramount, at the very last minute, chickened out.
Right.
And retitled the film The Big Carnival.
Right.
Without getting Mr. Wilder's opinion on that movie. And
I mean, can you imagine how livid he must have been?
Yeah, I can't. I really can't.
Good Lord.
But they thought that was a more saleable title. And they didn't learn, and the studios have never learned, that misleading the public through an advertising campaign or through a trailer or through a retitling never works.
Well.
Yeah.
It stinks.
Yeah.
and the public can smell to the snake oil.
Mm-hmm. Jessie, when did you see this one first? Do you remember?
I think this is another one. Do you remember? I think this is another one where we were tweeting with TCM.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So when Twitter, you remember Twitter.
I remember Twitter.
When Twitter became a bigger thing and TCM realized its power, they started doing these, what they called TCM parties.
Absolutely.
And a couple of times they would ask my dad if he would do a tweet along. And that meant me doing the tweeting.
Sure.
While he sat.
Oh, look, there's Iron Eyes Cody.
Exactly. and I tweeted for him.
Sure.
Me and my fast thumbs tweeted for him. And it meant that we watched several films together in a way that we never had before, which is to say we spoke through them. Mm-hmm. Normally you watch a movie, you don't talk very much, though my parents are terrible at that. My parents are the two old Jewish people who can't whisper. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had to lean over and be like, Mom, for the love of God. My parents, by the way, they just had their 51st wedding anniversary. So they apparently haven't been able to whisper for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd think they would they've loved each other for so long, they wouldn't have to. They still can't. But I'm pretty sure that was how we watched it. And what was so cool about that experience, genuinely, was just that I'm watching it, and then he's telling me all this stuff. Which, if you want someone to tell you stuff, boy, is my dad good at it.
Yeah.
And I was knocked out, because this must have been, 20 years ago?
Sure.
Something like that.
Something approaching that, yeah.
Something like that. And it blew me away. It really blew me away, because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And of course, the fact that it's completely accurate as to what would happen. It is not, no part of it feels like, oh, this would never. No, it would.
Right.
It would.
Right.
And they're all just so damn good in it.
Yeah.
And of course, seeing someone like Kirk Douglas, when you're used to him being older, being more established, whatever it is, seeing a younger version of them can also really kind of blow you away. But yeah, that's how we saw it together.
And then Mike, this was your first time watching it for this show, right?
Yeah, because when you get a personal movie recommendation from Leonard Maltin, you follow up on it.
How did you feel?
Yeah, I'd never seen it. Well, I mean, Jason said, I think that it's going to be just cynical enough for you to like it. Which is Jason and I have been watching movies together since we were kids. So he knows what kind of movies I like from 1951 or whatever, And so I sort of went into it like having a sense that it wasn't going to be, sort of a hero story. I did not expect them to have a woman who was outpacing him in her cynicism at every step along the way. That I did not see coming, and I really enjoyed it. Not just sort of conceptually speaking, it's as good as Ace in the Hole is of a title. Sort of, because you don't see that necessarily coming from her. And it's just like, wow, turning him into the one who is occasionally has to be the voice of reason. You're just like, this movie's got guts, man.
It does.
I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm so glad.
Jason, had you seen it before?
I've seen it a couple of times. I saw it the first time. I had a near perfect experience with it. Not long after I moved to New York, so this is 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. For a long time, this movie was very hard to see. It was so sort of poorly received that it would pop up on television occasionally, but it hadn't gotten like, you know, a sort of the big splashy home video presence that it has now, where it's part of the Criterion Collection. And so when they had sort of initially restored it and were trying to get it back out there, it ran for a week or two at the Film Forum in downtown New York. And I got to go see it like properly projected in a real theater for the first time. And it's an overwhelming movie to begin with, but to take it in, I guess for me, it was like to take it in the way I would have taken in a new release, made it feel it already feels so fresh and contemporary, but it felt even more so to get to experience it like that.
I can visualize that. Yes, I can see that, absolutely. My all-time favorite movie is Casablanca, but I lucked out. I wasn't around when it was made, but I was around in the late 60s when it was reissued.
Nice.
I was part of a Bogart festival.
Oh, yeah.
At a time when the counterculture movement was really
embracing him,
being esteemed, and adopted Humphrey Bogart, particularly the character of Rick in Casablanca, as a perfect anti-hero. So I saw it, not on TV. I haven't seen most movies of that era, but this one I got to see with an audience on a screen, just right.
Nice, really good. And I think maybe part of the reason, aside from the cynicism that we've already mentioned and the sort of not exactly of the era portraiture of the human spirit, I think another reason that it felt for me so far ahead of its time is because there's sort of it's kind of like a sub genre of the media circus movie.
Yeah.
Which I can't think of an earlier one than this. The only thing I could think of that was sort of along the same lines is there's a movie called 14 Hours that came out the same year about a guy who's up on a building ledge.
Richard Basehart,
Yes. Grace Kelly's first movie, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
And it came out the same year and has some of that same spirit, just in terms of this idea of, that we would later see in things like Dog Day Afternoon, of like, the big event where everyone sort of converges and becomes their best or worst self, depending on what kind of a movie it is.
Yeah.
But Leonard, I couldn't think of any sort of that ilk before.
Well, not exactly the same. I mean, not exactly the same, but I'm thinking of Frank Capra's Mr. Deeds Goes to Town.
Sure.
And
has
also
some of that,
Meet John Doe.
Sure.
They both have that element in them.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Not quite as cynical, but not easygoing either.
Exactly.
I think some people who are not as familiar with older films may not realize how dark things get in them. And because on the one hand, but that's the thing. On the one hand, you have people make fun of sort of the transatlantic accent, right? And so there's a lot of movies where when someone's trying to imitate that, it's, well, come here, let me have a drink of this, whatever. And it's like, yeah, those exist, obviously. Sure. But then there's a lot of movies that are dark as hell, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And it's not, as you watch it, and that's part of, I think, what has stuck with me for so long with it. It's dark.
Yeah.
Oh, look, this is the man. This is from the man who made just 1 year earlier Sunset Boulevard, which opens
with death. Yeah,
with the dead man in a dead man in a swimming pool narrating the story.
Right.
Dad, spoiler. Dad, come on.
Well, I mean, and I think we have to, just sort of knowing what we know about the star system, about the studio system, about how about the care that actors took with their persona, particularly in this era. I think Kirk Douglas strikes me as someone who quite admirably did not hesitate to play unlikable characters.
Right.
Was not concerned about looking like the traditional hero throughout his career. I mean, is that a fair assessment of sort of his...
It is absolutely a fair assessment, yes. And he also became his own producer.
Right.
And so he had the ability to choose those vehicles
Yeah.
and seek them out, and in some cases, nurture them to life. So yes, he has a pretty incredible resume and had a very good batting average in terms of commercial and critical success.
Yeah, he did. He did. And I was really aware this time of just of the details of the performance. And that is the thing I love about when you rewatch a great performance like this, is you can be so sort of overwhelmed by the power of it the first time. And then when you rewatch, you notice little touches. I was so taken by the way he readjusts the sheriff's tie right before the staff photographer takes that picture. The way he just sort of spiffs him up just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the kind of tiny gesture that tells you everything you need to know about this character, and the importance that he places on presentation,
Right.
which is key.
I want to say a word about a guy who never gets discussed,
Okay.
who is barely known, but who is really good in this movie. His name is Johnny Burks, Berkes, and he was a vaudevillian. And the other films of his that have any, not value, but any currency,
Reputation.
any agency,
Sure. Currency,
are a series of short subjects he made in 1935 for the Vitaphone studio,
Love
owned by
that.
Warner Brothers in Brooklyn, New York,
Of course.
starring Bob Hope, starring screen newcomer Bob Hope.
Right.
And they made Johnny Burke sort of his teammate. They made him sort of a kind of a half-assed comedy team.
Right.
Not a full-blown vaudeville comedy team, but something akin to that.
Not one that's in this particular book.
No, indeed. But he plays the father of the trapped man,
Oh, wow.
and he's the last one you see at the end of the film,
Yeah.
abandoned,
Yeah.
forgotten,
Yeah.
and it's a very poignant performance for which he got no recognition.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I like to single him out, because he deserves it. And he died just a couple years later. How did he get cast? Who knows?
Right. But I mean, Wilder, I think maybe even more than his contemporaries, it was very important to him that all of that he built ensembles, that these were not, there were not throwaway cardboard secondary characters, that to put life and complexity into everyone, and then to cast all of those roles with interesting actors.
Yes. Well, he was a disciple of Ernst Lubitsch.
Yeah.
And he and Charles Brackett got to write for their hero, Ernst Lubitsch. They wrote Cougar Day's Life. They wrote Ninotchka. And they saw how he cast all those wonderful character actors and supporting players in sometimes only one scene of a movie.
Yep.
But for that one scene, it was worth it to have just the right guy, right guy with a funny mustache or a great accent, or just a presence.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad loves character actors.
Absolutely.
The more ridiculous, the better in many cases. But those are the ones that he'll always sort of go to.
Yeah. Yeah. A fun Easter egg that I discovered while I was doing my research. Frank Cady's character identifies himself as a salesman for Pacific All Risk Insurance.
Yes.
The fictitious company featured in Wilder's 1944 film Double Indemnity. I love that touch. And there was, I feel like this is of interest. I read about this in the AFI catalog entry. This was, and Mr. Perry mentioned it briefly, there was real historical inspiration on that. It was inspired by the tragedy of Floyd Collins, who was a Kentucky man who in January 1925 got trapped in a cave similar to this. He had earlier discovered the Great Crystal Cave on his family's property. He was pinned down in an unstable passageway after a 27-pound rock fell on his foot, and a young Louisville reporter named William Burke Sheets Miller was slight enough to squeeze in and out of the passage. Fed conversed with Collins during the rescue attempt, as in the film. His reports about Collins gained him national attention. Carnival-like atmosphere springs up around the cave. Because of the precarious state of the passageway, Collins' rescuers decided to drill a vertical shaft to reach him, and after the passage suffered another collapse, Collins was shut off from Miller and died 15 days into the rescue. So, kudos to Wilder and his screenwriters to not give it that Hollywood ending, to
That's
not
right.
make it.
Now, there was another instance involving a little girl named Kathy Fiscus.
Right.
And that was very much more recent. I think it was 1950. She was trapped in a well.
Yes.
And that became a landmark in local Los Angeles television history.
Yeah.
And a reporter named Stan Chambers sort of made his bones on that story. But he wasn't a cynic.
Right.
He wasn't anything like Kirk Douglas is in this movie.
Right.
He was a beat reporter who stayed with KTLA television for 50 years. Became
Wow.
A local legend, local broadcasting legend. A very nice man.
Wow.
But he had the unenviable task of covering this hour by hour, day by day unfolding drama, not knowing how it was going to turn out.
Right.
No.
And KTLA, by the way, which is still
With
thriving
us.
and in business.
Yeah.
But then it was the TV arm of Paramount.
Wow.
You
Who
look
put
up
out this movie?
You look at the original logo, and they have
Yeah.
the Paramount Mountain and what the
Wow.
photo is.
Wow.
It all comes together. And
It
then
does.
I was pleased because I often recommend this movie when people ask what's a movie I haven't seen, and I'll say this one because a lot of people haven't seen it.
They haven't.
Well,
It didn't have much of a real reputation before the last few years.
But then Adam Gittell wrote a musical called Floyd Collins in 1996,
wow.
and it was revived last year.
Wow.
And it was on Broadway last year. So I kept telling people, and I have to say the cast recording they did was fantastic. It is a gorgeous score. And it was nominated for some Tonys. I think it won some Tonys. But it's great. And then the fun fact about Adam Gittell, Daddy.
Grandson of Richard Rogers, of Rogers and Hammerstone. Rogers and Hart.
Because, hey, why not?
Why not?
I love Adam Gittell. He's extremely talented, but I did not know that. And then we were talking about A Light in the Piazza. This is a few years ago. We were talking about A Light in the Piazza. It was another show of his. And my dad said, "Oh, Adam Gittell. Yeah, he's." And I went, "Are you kidding?" I feel like that's something we should all know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and it did really well for itself last year. Made quite a splash, and so I really hoped that people would then look into it and maybe learn about the film.
Sure,
So
we'll
try,
find
right?
some. Yeah, we'll find some clips. We'll link to that in the show.
We haven't
notes,
mentioned
definitely.
yet Jan Sterling, the leading lady of the film. Who
Man,
is so good. Who has
man.
I'm tempted to. I don't want to quote the line. I want it to be revealed in the movie for your listeners and viewers who haven't seen it yet. It's too good a line to throw away here. Not throw away.
I understand.
To give
No,
away.
it would be a throwaway here relative to in context.
There you go.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. She's just so good. She was she was a very good stage actress who made the transition to Hollywood and was kind of an unconventional leading lady, not typical.
Right.
And so she had a kind of an uneven career because she didn't always get to play the characters she was willing to play and could have acted rings around anybody else on the screen. She did get an Oscar nomination, however, 5 years later for a very good part in the John Wayne movie The High and the Mighty, which was off the market for many, many years, but now is widely available. And it's a fun movie. It goes on too long, kind of like today's movies. But she got an Oscar nomination for having the chutzpah as well as the chops to do a scene where she removes all her makeup while telling this story.
Oscar voters always like that.
They like that a lot.
They like that a lot. Well, I mean, and I think, Mike, you pinpointed something really insightful here in the fact that you have this amoral lead, and then he comes up against this character that would be very easy to write as a counterpoint, to play as sort of the good person. And the comparison that I found myself making in thinking about the power of that was to A Face in the Crowd, which, has an amoral main character. It's a sort of media commentary / satire. It's dealing in a lot of the same, it's delving into a lot of the same waters, but we have that Patricia Neal character as sort of the moral compass. And this movie very deliberately does not have that. Nobody in this movie, except maybe the guy who dies, gets off the hook by the movie's end. And I wonder if maybe that in particular is why audiences had such a hard time with this movie when it came out. Leonard, why do you think it was received as indifferently or even hostilely as it was?
Well, we have to first explain that it didn't get a lot of play dates. So if it wasn't received in a negative manner, it's because it wasn't playing.
Sure.
Paramount had really hard, an uphill battle with this movie.
Okay.
Kirk Douglas was a star. He was a bankable star at that moment. But and Billy Wilder's name, meant something to some moviegoers. People don't go to see films for the directors. Certainly not in this era.
Right.
And so that was the fundamental problem. It just wasn't given a lot of hoopla. There wasn't a lot of muscle behind it. And
no big carnival for the big carnival, if you will.
Exactly. But then it got mixed reviews. Some people were tuned in to the tone of the film and the purposefulness of the story, and others found it off-putting. Because this was an era when you had a lot of one of my heroes is William K. Everson, a great film scholar, teacher, author, and he taught at NYU for many years. And one of his students was very annoyed that he liked films of the so-called golden age of Hollywood so much. And the student was going on and ranting and saying, they always have happy endings. How can you watch a movie knowing this is going to have a happy ending? And Bill said, have you seen King of Kings? So, yes, I mean, the same studio, Paramount, that released the same year as this, A Place in the Sun.
Right.
Another film where the hero doesn't turn out so well.
An upper, if you will.
Yeah.
So it was not alone in having that kind of a wrap-up or denouement.
Got it.
But still, people mostly went to the movies for escape.
Yeah.
And they wanted that happy ending. They wanted to enjoy their night out at the movies.
Something like Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, there you go.
Something just really like light,
Something upbeat. Yep.
Talk about weird movies to watch with your family, by the way. Jesus.
Okay, on that note, let's take a quick break, and then we will talk a bit more about the movie's release and reception. All right, friends, let's talk about the release and reception of Ace in the Hole, which opened in New York City on June 14th, 1951, alongside Lloyd Bridges in Three Steps North. Also playing in Gotham on that day, Humphrey Bogart in Sirocco. Oh, man, I always mess up the name of that movie. Sirocco? Tony Curtis in The Prince Who Was a Thief, Red Skelton in Excuse My Dust, Cecil B. DeMille's Samson and Delilah, Randolph Scott in Santa Fe, the great Caruso. Randolph, thank you.
Yeah.
I almost did it, and I was like, "That's nobody wants."
We
to
never
hear
miss
that.
a chance.
We'll
We never
do it
miss
for
an
you.
opportunity.
Don't worry about it.
Also playing in New York that day, the great Caruso, Born Yesterday, I Was a Communist for the FBI, Father's Little Dividend, The Thing from Another World, and in its 4th month, according to the Times ad, Powell and Pressburger's Tales of Hoffman. Mike, what were the news headlines on that day?
Oh man, this is gonna feel like another world. You ready for this? Friday,
Yep.
June 29, 1951, and the big headline is Truman urges end of dispute in Iran. So thankfully,
dear. Yeah.
that's
Well,
done.
this is awkward.
Yeah. So this is 2 years before the CIA does a coup over there.
Sure.
And overthrows the democratically elected government of Mossadegh, installs the Shah, which of course had nothing to do with 1979, which I'm sure has nothing to do
Absolutely.
with things. Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Nope. History
the
all exists in a vacuum.
Yep. The Federal Trade Commission ordered Lucky Strike cigarettes to stop claiming they had less acid in the smoke than other cigarettes. Doesn't that sound amazing?
It does.
I'll have the one with less acid. I don't want the one with no acid. I want the one with less acid. The Lucky ads claimed that their smokes were preferred, quote, 2-to-1 by independent tobacco experts.
Right.
But when the FTC looked into it, it turns out all that was required to be an independent tobacco expert was to smoke sometimes. The FTC found that of the 440 people who responded to their survey, more than 100 of them never smoked Luckies, and more than 50 of them didn't even smoke. Lucky disputed the findings.
Sure.
So what's worse, selling smokes or lying to do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Luckies are still the best cigarette, though. And finally, a Kings County jury failed to indict a scumbag cop for shooting a 26-year-old black man after he got into a car accident. So,
Once again,
thankfully we've
the
solved
distant past.
all of these problems from 1951, and we can
Very
move
much.
on.
Very much
Let
so.
me ask my daughter to tell you why Luckies were so good.
So fine, so firm, so fully
fully packed.
so free and easy on the draw. I've been
They're
smoking
toasted.
Lucky Strike now on 40 years. Yes, unfortunately, because I really, really, really love Jack Benny.
Jack Benny, I knew it.
From the time
it.
I was a very young person, I could do all of the Lucky Strike commercials.
You sure could. Could you
which
sing the
goes
little
over-
songs?
Goes over a treat with friends when you're in like 2nd grade.
Yeah,
Does
yeah,
real
yeah.
well for you.
Yeah.
Well, but they were great. They were great ads, and we would do them to each other all the time. Yeah, and still do.
Still do.
LS
I love
MFT. LS
MFT, yeah.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
It does. Can you do the
Yeah.
auctioneer guy too? That was one of my favorites.
There
you go.
L.A. Speed Rigs.
Please.
Well
it's
done.
a lonely childhood.
Well played.
Jason, what did critics say about Lucky Strike? No, I'm sorry, about Ace in the Hole.
Dad, do you remember what you gave it?
3 stars.
Is it 3 in the book?
Yep.
That's an out of 4, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. All right. Well, amongst the critics at the time, our pal Bosley Crowther in the New York Times gave a fairly typical review. Quote, a sordid and cynical drama of a corrupt newspaperman set against a grisly panorama of mob morbidity is delivered with all the stinging impact of an angry slap in the face by Ace in the Hole, the new picture from Billy Wilder, which opened at the Globe yesterday. But regrettably, in his demonstration of the tricks and deceits by which an unscrupulous newspaper reporter pyramids and prolongs a simple cave disaster into a national sensational tragedy, Mr. Wilder has let imagination so fully take control of his yarn that it presents not only a distortion of journalistic practice, but something of a dramatic grotesque. And the end there, and later in the review, I think, it's the key to, I think, a lot of the hostile reception at the time. Newspaper critics did not like how this movie represented
Yes.
the world that they worked in.
Wow.
That theme was certainly present in the Chicago Tribune review, penned, as theirs frequently were, under the pseudonym May Tenay. Get it? Quote, As a picture of Tatum, it flops badly, they wrote. Not that there are no egomaniacs in the newspaper business, but this one is neither sufficiently clever nor consistent enough for the weight of the story, end quote. The Hollywood Reporter went even further, calling it ruthless and cynical, and, quote, a brazen, uncalled for slap in the face of two respected and frequently effective American institutions, democratic government and the free press, end quote. They were all... THR was all in a tizzy about what this movie said about America and journalism. But there were some boosters. In the Los Angeles Times, Edward Schallert wrote, quote, "It is an incredible motion picture in certain aspects, or at least will be from the standpoint of many members of the newspaper fraternity. But at the same time, it is made with consummate skill and as a remarkable commentary on the mob spirit, brilliantly directed by Billy Wilder and admirably acted by Kirk Douglas in the central role. Controversial and challenged as this Paramount production will prove to be, it has a singular power and fascination. The writing by Wilder, Lesser Samuels, and Walter Newman seems extraordinarily potent." And
said the father of one of our favorite actors of the 50s and 60s, William Shell.
Aha. Man, Leonard with the tip in. Nicely done, sir. All right.
I thought that was like a typo. The guy's name was Lesser and not Lester. Like,
no.
Does he have like an older brother named Greater? Like that just seems like
you just accidentally did a literal Mystery Science Theater 3000 joke. Like when I saw that name, I can't remember what movie it is, but they're watching the opening credits and that name comes up, and that is pretty much the joke that they make. So well done, Michael.
I'll take that in place of an answer.
There you go. How did it do in terms of box office and awards, Mike?
Ace in the Hole was famously Mr. Wilder's first commercial failure, so we won't dwell on the box office. But it was in fact nominated for the Academy Award for Best Story and Screenplay. It lost to An American in Paris, and was up for the Gold Lion at that year's Venice Film Festival. And it won Best Director and Best Music Awards at Venice, as well as the National Board of Review's prize for Best Actress, which went to Jan Sterling. Hear, hear.
There we go.
So it lost to a musical.
Yes.
At the Oscars.
It did indeed. Imagine that. Now it's time for a segment that we call Double It Up, where we each select one movie that we think would make an ideal double feature for today's focal film. Leonard and Jessie, you're our guests, which means you go first. You have individual picks or a collective one. How would you like to do this?
Knee jerk, and I only think of it because if the issue that certain newspapers had with this film was that they felt it was not an accurate representation, maybe something like His Girl Friday.
There you go.
And then you would have a harder time because you got two reporters, both a bit ruthless.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Plus a happy ending. Exactly.
Yeah.
I second that emotion.
There we go. The Leonard's go with His Girl Friday.
That is, in this household, I'll tell you, His Girl Friday is probably one of our collective favorite movies.
Absolutely. As well it should be. Yes. Yeah. I went with a flawed movie, but an interesting one and a really good pairing, which is a film directed by Costa Gavras in, I want to say, 1997 called Mad City, which really is just kind of a contemporary riff on this. It's got some Dog Day Afternoon elements in it as well. It's more of a hostage situation than a tragedy situation, but John Travolta plays the sort of the madman, and Dustin Hoffman is the ruthless reporter who sees this as an opportunity to increase his reputation and fame and exploits the subject in order to do it. It's, I think, one of the better later Hoffman performances. And again, is sort of revisiting some of these ideas and themes, but from a 90s television instead of newspaper, sort of the 24-hour news cycle, that kind of take on it. And I think as that, it works really well. They complement each other nicely. Mike, what about you?
I enjoyed Kirk Douglas so much in this movie that I just sort of wanted to keep the Kirk Douglas train going. I watched Saturn 3 earlier today. And, Obviously, this is from the whole other end of his career.
Sure is.
But I really enjoyed Saturn III a lot. It feels like a Kirk Douglas space movie that happens after Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Like you can definitely you can see a lot of the sort of things that are happening. Yep. But it also stars a what feels to me like a very young Harvey Keitel. Mm-hmm. Just because I sort of
Harvey
start
Keitel
with
was
him
ever
later.
Young?
Yeah,
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I found that very interesting. But really, it's like Keitel is the cynical character. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get into how all of that works because there's some machinations going on there.
There sure are.
But throughout the movie, Farrah Fawcett is Kirk Douglas's odd half his age girlfriend, whatever. They're the only two people on Saturn III. What are you going to do? Yep. But he is cast in the protector role. He is protecting not just her, but also their experiment, their environment. He's sort of suspicious of the thing from the very beginning. It's initially sort of his suspicion is somewhat cast as sort of jealousy because a younger guy shows up and immediately starts hitting on his girlfriend, which apparently is cool on Earth then, but not cool in Saturn III when there's only
not
two
on a
people.
space station.
Is that the film that Stanley Donen directed?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I believe you're right. Yes.
Oh.
A really odd entry in his filmography.
Very odd entry.
Yes.
But as it goes, you see that his sort of his fear and his feeling of a need to protect was not based necessarily just on jealousy. It was fully justified. And then the robots go insane. It's exactly my kind of movie. I enjoyed it very much.
There you go.
Saturn III for a whole other Kirk Douglas than you ever imagined.
There you have it. All right, gang, the book again is Family Movie Night Menus, Recipe and Films for Unforgettable Times Together. It is on bookshelves now. Leonard and Jessie, where can people follow you online and on social media? How can they keep track of you?
Can I tell you my favorite thing is my dad never remembers, and I always have to tell him, it's Leonard Maltin. He's asked me more times than I could count. He's at Leonard Maltin on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, which I will always call Twitter.
Thank you.
And I am on Instagram and on Twitter as well at Jessie Maltin. We also have a YouTube channel, Maltin on Movies. We have a Patreon, Maltin on Movies. We have every Maltin on Movies that exists that you could find. And we have our podcast that's been going strong for a long time. I really can't believe it.
10th anniversary, is that right?
Something like that. It's been going so long. So up till COVID, we had never had a rerun.
Wow.
And we only recorded in person.
Nice.
And that's crazy when we look back and we try to remember because it meant that we were doing 52 episodes a year.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. And now it's harder because a lot of folks don't want to do anything in person.
Nope.
and a lot of studios closed. So the different places we recorded don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but at the same time, we're lucky. All of us, we're lucky that we can still do it.
And your website is
LeonardMaltin.com.
LeonardMaltin.com.
It's all real simple.
Easy to remember. I'm Jason Bailey on Blue Sky and Letterboxd. Mike, where can people find you?
I am Michael Hall on Letterboxd. Well, I will definitely write a review of Saturn III.
That will be, I'll look forward to reading that. If you like the show and think other people might like it too, please, we beg of you, leave us a rating or review on your podcatcher of choice. You can join our mailing list, get the weekly show notes and all of that at buttondown.email/filmfanatic. Quick reminder that my most recent book, Gandolfini, Jim Toney, and the Life of a Legend, is out this Tuesday in paperback, as well as in existing hardback, audiobook, and ebook formats. And if you're one of those weirdos who likes to watch videos of people talking into microphones, hello, find us on YouTube at Guy for the Film Fanatic. You can see me holding up my stacks of Leonard Maltin
books
that I'm very, very proud to own. And over to you, Mike.
Our humblest thanks to our guiding light, Mr. Danny Perry, author of Guide for the Film Fanatic, and shout out to executive producer Blake Howard. You know how we got on this network? Jason went into his office and said, "How'd you like to make yourself $1,000 a day, Mr. Howard? I'm a $1,000 a day podcaster. You can have me for nothing."
Thank you again, Leonard Maltin and Jessie Maltin.
Pleasure to be with you guys.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Jason.
And thank you for listening. On the next Guide for the Film Fanatic, Edgar Award-winning novelist and screenwriter Jordan Harper joins us to chop up the sword and sorcery, Schwarzenegger launching epic Conan the Barbarian. Don't miss it.